We've had a Hotel Plus update. We are getting something similar to a Mines Plus update. It's now time we discuss the Rooms Plus update. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Doors Update News, the only place where you can learn about the future content coming to Doors in an unnecessary amount of detail. Now, I know I had mentioned that I had exhausted all of the content I could make for this series, but then I remembered that I don't really care. So, today I'd like to discuss a room sublevel overhaul update which has been somewhat teased in the past, and we'll be going over everything we may see in this hypothetical Rooms Plus update. Now, I would like to mention that a lot of what is seen in this video is just speculation and proof of concepts, but the actual update could very likely play out in similar ways. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so in case you weren't in the loop, a long while back the developers confirmed in this message that in the future it's possible that a quote, thorough rework of the room subfloor, unquote, will come in the future. This claim is further backed up by this other message of the developers explaining why they feel the current iteration of the rooms is very lackluster, and how people may perceive a possible revamp of the subfloor. So with that being said, I think it's likely that a Rooms Plus type update is going to come sometime in the future, but what do we know is coming in it? After all, these two messages are all we have to go off of as of now. Well, the first thing I wanted to cover regarding this question is the issue of time. As the developers pointed out, to fully complete the rooms it takes roughly 2 hours of uninterrupted and, in all honesty, boring gameplay. Now, with any rework of the A1000 challenge, spending a lot of time is always going to be an issue. So, how can we mitigate this? Well, although there are several ways of how we could reduce the time, one of the simplest is to simply allow time-reducing items to spawn in the subfloor. For example, what if every so often, such as in exit rooms, players could have the option to purchase vials of starlight or vitamins for gold found throughout the various rooms? Or they could just have the chance to find these items spawning around the subfloor. These items give the player a temporary speed boost, so allowing people to obtain plentiful amounts of them could significantly reduce the time required to complete the subfloor if it is handled with care. There are other ways to speed things up, of course, but this seems like a rather simple one, so it could potentially be added. Moving on, just like with any major overhaul to a floor, new rooms, items, and entities are likely to be implemented, and I doubt a Rooms Plus-like update would be an exception. After all, there are 1,000 doors we have to go through, encountering the exact same rooms and fighting off the exact same 3 entities the whole way can get repetitive over time. Now, given how the Rooms sublevel is meant to be a recreation of the original Rooms game, and how essentially all of the content from that game has been adapted into the Doors version, it's likely this update would introduce a bunch of new custom-made additions which aren't seen in the original game, such as completely original items, room layouts, and entities. Now, although I can't really say for sure what types of new items and room layouts may be added in the update, I do have a prediction about the upcoming entities. As you all know, the entities in the rooms are meant to be a lot more difficult than the ones encountered in the regular game. So, seeing how more entities are likely to be added into the rooms, and how these new ones would be encountered later in the sublevel's progression, it's likely they would be rather difficult and have pretty unique mechanics. For example, one idea I've had for a long time is an entity named Echo. This unfinished placeholder itself obviously won't be added to the game, but something similar in terms of difficulty of mechanics could be. How it works, much like most entities in the rooms, is it rushes down the room and you have to hide from it in a locker, but the method of actually detecting when it will attack is pretty interesting. Essentially, the only way you would know if it is attacking is if you hear the sounds around you, such as your footsteps or the shaking of your shake light, echo, or play a repeated amount of times, hence why I named the entity Echo. As you can probably guess, you would have to pay really close attention to the sounds around you to make sure they don't echo, otherwise the entity will have appeared and you may die. Now, as I had stated, an entity functioning exactly like this would never be added to the game, but something similar in terms of difficulty would likely be added in a future Rooms update, which is why I mentioned this idea in the video. Now, I did actually contact the developers regarding room layouts, and from the information I gathered, it appears that every single room found in the original game, including the one scrapped room, was actually implemented into the Doors sublevel. Some rooms were even mirrored to simulate more unique rooms than what there actually are. So, this means that if this new update were to add more room layouts to the subfloor, which is likely going to be the case, they would all have to be custom made, as all the layouts from the original game have been exhausted. Although, I will say that apparently the original Rooms game is going to be updated soon, so maybe more layouts from the update could be implemented, such as the one seen on the screen, which was teased a while back. Now, as you all probably know, unlike every other floor in the game, you can't access the rooms by creating an elevator for it in the lobby. Instead, you have to gather a bunch of specific items and do a puzzle in the room 60 in order to access it. Now, although I'm completely fine with how the current method of accessing the rooms work, I do feel like there should be a way to easily access it when the update does release. One idea I had is to make it so anyone who has the A1000 badge, and only the people who have it, will be granted the ability to create and join elevators to the rooms in the lobby. After all, after completing the rooms, there's no reason to re-enter it, so people who have completed it should be able to easily access it whenever they please without going through a bunch of complicated steps. Of course, people who don't have the badge would have to access the subfloor in the normal way, but through this shortcut it becomes a whole lot easier. Now, obviously, it's likely there are simpler ways to implement a way of easily accessing the rooms for the update, but this was just the first idea that came to my mind. Anyways, that was essentially all I wanted to cover in this video. Naturally, this theoretical Rooms Plus update is probably not going to come out for a while, but that doesn't mean we can't speculate about what possible additions could be added to it. Still, I'm excited to see what the developers create for this future update, as I will admit this area of the game currently feels a little lacking. So, with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think should be added in this update, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.